All right, guys, let's get this party started. It's about Caleb Hammer. You guys know, friend of the stream. Guess what? This is going to be super biased, and I'm not going to listen to her. I'm going to make fun of her the whole time. No, I'm kidding. This is about Caleb Hammer. It's called Let's Discuss Financial Rage Bait and the Morality of Debt. Sure, I mean, that sounds interesting. I've seen Caleb get some criticism over the months, and I feel like he's interacted with it pretty well. He doesn't like explicitly interact with it and be like, hey guys, I'm sorry I did this, which by the way, I think is not a bad thing. It's okay to make little small mistakes and just adjust as you hear feedback. It seems like he's been a little bit nicer, a little less antagonistic, but there's still a little bit of a Jerry Springer-esque flair to the content that I think some people like to see. But yeah, I'm still curious. I'll say one thing. I'm a little bit like morality of debt. That makes me feel like this is going to get a little preachy, but you know what? Maybe I'm just a stupid idiot and wrong. So let's just get this started.
Hello, my dudes. Today, I want to talk about financial rage bait and the morality of debt. Obviously, being in debt is not ideal, but especially...
No, you shouldn't be in debt to the best of your ability. You know, I used to be in debt. It can be difficult when you have a lot of things going on in life. You know, I've been in the place where you don't have a whole lot of money, and then you have enough money to save a little bit every week, but you're having a rough time. Maybe you're working a couple jobs, your job's kicking your ass, and maybe you lean into bad habits like smoking cigarettes or eating food, or whatever it is that helps you get through the day. Or maybe you start saving and you're doing pretty well saving, and then one bad thing happens and it puts you behind, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, I couldn't save anything, and you stop caring because things are too stressful in general, yada, yada, yada. Because literally, what's the difference between a good and a bad purchase? It's how much money you have to recover from it. But yeah, you should try not to be in debt. There are people who are just financially illiterate. At the end of the day, you kind of have to not be if you want to be successful, you know?
Especially for those of us living in the US, debt is very common. The cost of living is very high and wages are definitely not keeping up. This country is huge and car dependent, so most people have car loans. Then we have student loans because our college education system is broken, and medical debt because our healthcare system is nonsensical. Noticing a pattern here? Oh yeah, and then there's credit card debt. I've seen so many comments from people from other countries asking Americans about their credit card debt, and they're like, why would you spend money you don't have? And that is part of it, but it's really not that simple. All of these systemic factors make it very easy to get into debt, and many people are surviving off credit cards, buying...
Sure. And it's good to acknowledge these things. I just did too. I will say though, and this really is based on the individual experience. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always a line you can cross as an individual, where you can cross from having a reason to making an excuse. We'll say, you know what I mean. And you don't want to get to the point where you're making an excuse. It can be a very positive, powerful thing to find a reason for your behaviors. Like, let's say you're somebody who struggles with, you know, some kind of bad behavior outside of, you know, financial stuff. And then you go to a doctor and they diagnose you with something like ADHD. And you're like, oh, this explains some of my impulsivity, explains some of this. That can make you feel good because now you'd feel like, okay, now I know why I have some struggles with particular, like impulsivity, anger. These are some things that can happen with ADHD. Paying attention. It can get very expensive. These could be good explanations for things as long as you have a good interaction with it where you're like, okay, this is like a good reason. Now I understand why the behavior exists. I feel less self-conscious because like some of it, you know, this explains the way that I am, but I could still engage in some kind of behavioral therapy or behavioral shift to be able to better myself and you know, be happier. And so that's the thing you want to do. You want to acknowledge things, obviously. You want to acknowledge struggles and hardships and XYZ. But you don't want to cross over past the boundary where you are making excuses for yourself, you know. And again, we'll use ADHD. That would be like if you are an impulsive person and you acknowledge this because you're ADHD, and then you engage in impulsivity, and you're like, oh, well, I have ADHD, haha, who cares? That's when the behavior becomes negative, right? You can always work on yourself and better yourself for the most part, and so it's good to acknowledge reasons. But don't let them lean into excuses for bad behavior. And really, the only person who can monitor that is yourself. I don't know your life. I don't know what's going on in your life. I don't know the exact situation or circumstances that are going on. You know, so it's harder for somebody else, an outside source, to judge. But you know, you want to be an accurate judge for yourself, because at the end of the day, you can either make the excuse and be unsuccessful, or you can not make an excuse and you can have a higher chance of success. So, thank you for the small gut from Bobby Iotti. 4 months. What if instead of Papa Gut, it was Papa Goon? That's an incredible question, brother. I love you.
Buying essentials like groceries just to get by.
Why would you want to buy something that's gross?
Credit scores are so crucial here. We're pretty much required to have some debt in order to build our credit, which we need in order to get housing and cars, etc.
Sure, you want to have what's called like good debt, which usually is going to be like housing debt or car debt. Student loan debt, I think, is considered good debt. Yeah.
So even if you disagree with the concept, it's almost impossible to opt out of. Now, it wouldn't be a money-related video without me saying the obligatory, this is not financial advice. Years ago, I built up $10,000 of credit card debt.
Why? I mean, I've been there before. I've been there before. I had a less than stellar relationship where I was the only one who really worked in any meaningful capacity, and it was pretty rough. But
some was definitely just overspending, but a lot of it was me as a college student trying to get through without any other financial support. I was working but just wasn't able to earn enough. Then you throw in some emergency dental bills and it all added up very quickly. Eventually I was able to hunker down, get my budget together, and pay off that debt in about 6 months. I
become a YouTuber. That's probably helped a significant amount, which yeah, in my kind of experience, yeah, sure.
Was being much more careful about my spending, but you know what the real key was to paying off my debt?
Having more money?
Earning more money. Shocker. Anyway, I'm always happy to witness other people's debt payoff journeys, especially on social media. I'm
on my debt payoff journey to pay off $50,000 worth of my ex's student loans, guys, which means I'm like 30 grand in, I think, so we're doing well.
Seeing people be more transparent about their finances, get a hold of their debt, make a plan to pay it off, and be able to create a healthier, reasonable, sustainable budget. We truly love to see it. And going through an intense payoff journey can make you very anti-debt, especially when a lot of financial
yeah, of course.
Figures.
It's almost like a trauma response to it, no?
Say that there is no acceptable debt other than a mortgage, maybe. You should never buy anything you can't buy outright. Or heck, you can't afford something unless you could afford to buy it twice.
That's funny because like I think more modern advice is that you shouldn't be buying anything outright. You should be buying things and putting it on some kind of a credit line, or not credit necessarily, but taking a loan out for it as long as the loan is relatively low interest, and then you should use the money that you otherwise would have spent, and you should be using it to invest in like the stock market, which has like an 8% on average return every year, I believe. So it's like, oh, let me get this loan for 5%, debt, let's say, or 5% interest, and then I can invest the money at 8% interest that I would have done to pay it off. Does that make any sense? Like if it was $50,000, instead of paying the $50,000 if you have it, you invest, $45,000, and then you take a $5,000 a month loan at fucking 5% interest or something. That's my understanding. I don't do any of that stuff, but that's my understanding is like really the general recommendation.
That is how you never get in debt again. And I get the idea, but I don't think that's reasonable for the vast majority of people, especially again, those who are living paycheck to paycheck. I think it is a lot more realistic to realize if debt is somewhat inevitable or can be necessary, how can we make sure our debt payments are manageable? How can we get lower interest rates? Can we still find a way to save and put money toward retirement while paying our debts down? I absolutely believe that you can be in debt and still in control of your finances. But many financial pundits believe and promote the idea that
this guy's named Dave Ramsey. Is that him? He's a fucking idiot.
That debt is bad, morally bad. There is no excuse, and you should feel horrible until it's gone. So that brings us to today's video. I am fascinated by the narratives about debt and the moralizing of it. I personally believe debt is morally neutral.
Sure, I think debt's morally neutral. I would say the reason for your debt is where I guess I wouldn't even use the word morality in relationship to this, but I think it's the nature of your debt that is when that conversation, like, why do you have the debt? That's when I think that the conversation begins to shift a little bit. It's like, you know what I mean? Like if you have debt because you had an emergency, fart doctor appointment or something, and that's it'd make sense why you'd have the debt. If you have the debt because you decided to go fucking blow money on strippers and hookers, that obviously is also good debt. So
whether or not you have debt doesn't make you a good or bad person, and I'm sick of people saying or implying that. People are struggling and feeling guilty enough as it is. And in comes the financial rage bait. There are so many finance influencers who post about other people's—
What the hell? Is that Lex Luthor?
Spending, budgets, and debts.
That was a compliment, by the way. Lex Luthor is like the smartest person in the entire universe, except Batman, I think, is smarter than him in DC universe, so he's like number 2. He's a pretty smart guy, let's be real.
Claiming to be helping.
Which doesn't make any sense, because Batman's a drug addict, right? Like, we understand that he has an addiction to beating the shit out of people. He lives in Gotham. He could probably implement some kind of welfare system to make poor people less poor. Instead, he decides to drug himself up, take nightly ice baths so that he can go out and beat the shit out of criminals. And he definitely does do— I mean, I used to read the comics. There's like a comic talking about how he's like on pain meds and stuff. So, what the fuck are you doing, Batman? You know what I mean?
Offering advice, when in reality, most of what they're doing is just yelling at and mocking people. Is this supposed to be some form of being scared straight? Like, make sure you get your finances in order. Otherwise, you deserve to have thousands of comments roasting and harassing you.
Sure, I will say at the same time, a lot of these places, like, you know what the show's about. The people still show up for some reason, so you can't put it all onto the people. But like, yeah, it probably, depending on what the show is, it satisfies some kind of like moral masturbation for the viewer. They're like, yeah, I'm better than this guy. It's like when you watch My 600 Pound Life, and you're like, ew, look at that, while you're eating like a pizza. You know, it's moral masturbation. Like, at least I'm not that bad. And frankly, there's a level of truth to that. You know, at least the way I feel, man. That makes me feel a little better watching it.
I thought we were past shaming people for buying coffee and avocado toast and pretending like that's the reason their finances are all out.
It is. It will be like, I'm not going to be an asshole. It can be a significant reason. If you're going out and you're spending $6 on or you know, I guess $6 on coffee and $6 on an avocado toast every day, like that does add up. Like if you're doing that, you know, let's say you do that 5 days a week, let's say you get a coffee 5 days a week. That's like, you know, $6. It's $30 a week. Math would say that that's $1,500 a year. You could make coffee at home and save a significant amount of money. And if you continuously make decisions like that, you can save a lot of money. And that is something that you should be doing because it will add up, right? Like if you don't go out for your coffee, maybe you also stop going out for lunch, even though it's convenient, and you start going here and you start going there. And then you also try to make healthier decisions too, so you don't have to spend more money medical debt wise, because like you do have an impact on your health, and I am there too. I'm fat as fuck, right? Like these things do matter. So if you're going out constantly to like Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or something, and you're spending a few, like, you know, multiple dollars a day, you know, you really could save like a good amount of money per week if you start eating from home. Like you can save money, but a lot of people will go to McDonald's or will go to fast food. And fast food's expensive now. It's not even cheap. You go to fucking Chili's between like 12 and 3 now, and it'll be cheaper for you to get a fucking meal than it is at McDonald's. It's not even a joke. Look this up. Same thing with Applebee's. Like if you go between like 12 and 3, it's like $11 for a drink and an entree. It's fucking insane.
Out of whack, but apparently not. This rhetoric is still alive and well. And I know rage bait exists to bait us, and here I am engaging with it, just as they hoped. But instead of arguing in the comment sections, I wanted to use some of these examples just to talk about money and debt. Hopefully with a little more empathy and less yelling. Let's
fuck empathy, dude.
Start with this TikTok that came across my feed recently. I think it is the perfect example of financial rage bait.
With my credit card, I maxed that out to $4,000.
What do you mean you max it out? Max it out or maxed it out?
So my max, I got confused with the credit debt and the credit limit.
I saw so many commenters roasting this person, and I get it. It seems very shocking. How could someone get a credit card and not know the very basics, the fundamentals of how they work? Clearly,
yeah, I mean,
this is an issue of financial literacy.
Sure, but you should have a fundamental understanding of how these things work.
Me and my boyfriend and me and my friends, we would go out and I'm like, oh, I'll pay for
Am
everybody.
I the
I got
asshole
it.
for wanting to
I'll spend the money. Don't worry about it. It's just a credit
postpartum?
card. I would pay and pay and pay and pay. And then I called my mom one day and I wanted her to be proud of me. So I was just like, hey, I've got $4,000 credit on my credit card.
I just don't think that any of this is real. There's just no way that she's this stupid. I'm not trying to, or they are. I don't know what the fuck they are. I'm trying to be respectful, at least to their pronouns, not to their behavior. I don't know. There's no way that you're that stupid that you actually think that.
She's like, credit limit or credit debt? I was like, what's debt? And she's like, oh, that's bad.
I will admit, this clip is pretty entertaining. It's easy to get roped in. Like, is this person really serious? So I checked out more videos from this TikTok and discovered the world of Caleb Hammer's financial audit. This is basically a newer, younger version of Dave Ramsey's call-in show. You know, people have questions. They've got financial problems.
I don't know, man.
And the host is...
I mean, I've seen Caleb Hammer. I've seen some of his content. I watched some of his TikToks. My wife likes them especially. They're fun. I do want to watch the rest of the clip, though, that she is talking about real quick.
I maxed that out with my credit card. I maxed that out to $4,000.
What do you mean you max it out?
I want to make it so I can increase the speed on it. Sorry. I want to watch the TikTok.
With my credit card, I maxed that out to $4,000.
This way we can have like full context to see like what everything's going
What do you mean you max it out? Max it out or maxed it out?
So my max, I got confused with the credit debt and credit limit. So my parents got me a credit card, and I ended up getting a max.
Yeah, so this person is very clearly like they're spoiled by their parents, right?
Credit limit of $8,000, so I could spend up to $8,000. That's what that means, right? So I would use it, and I would take my boyfriend. We would just started dating. We would go out.
It's $12,500
on it now.
Yeah.
Well, when I looked at it last, yeah.
Continue.
Me and my boyfriend, me and my friends, we would go out, and I'm like, oh, I'll pay for everybody. I got it. I'll spend the money. Don't worry about it. It's just a credit card. So I would pay and pay and pay and pay, and then I called my mom one day, and I wanted her to be proud of me. So I was just like, hey, I've got $4,000 credit on my credit card, and she's like, credit limit or credit debt? I was like, what's debt? And she's like, oh, that's bad. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. So it's $4,000 debt then? She's like, that's bad. Why did you do that? I'm like, I thought that was good. And she's like, no.
Well, sounds like you're a dumb fuck as a parent that you let your kid do this without any financial literacy. They're very clearly spoiled by you guys because she shouldn't even be able to get an $8,000 credit card at her age unless her parents like co-signed it, which is what they probably did, and that's really your mistake as a parent. It makes you a failure as a parent. Well, I mean, not a failure, but that is like that is one of your failures as a parent.
Your credit limit at the time was $8,000. So I was like, okay, well the credit limit's $8,000. That's good, right? And she's like, yes, but you were $4,000 in debt. So I started paying it off maybe like for a month, and my mom and dad, they were like,
when was this?
Last year.
Okay, and then what?
And then they're like, you're not gonna pay this off in time. Give it to me. So my parents took it, and they're still currently paying it off right now.
You didn't pay this $1,000?
You mean the $4,000?
No, the $1,000 that went to this card this last month was from them.
They've been paying it off from $4,000 to. They just basically gave up and said, you're not gonna pay this in time.
After the people.
You're moving.
Well, it's kind of on them. It's that one. She's probably on, or they, whatever. They're probably on there to get like some kind of money or whatever. I don't know if you get any money going on the show.
Is there to help, right? In these financial audits, Caleb will look at the person's bank statements, go through a bunch of transactions, they'll look at debts and income and try to build a budget that makes sense for this person.
Yeah.
Great. But if you check out, for example, the clips that make it to the TikTok page, it becomes very clear what sort of content Caleb is prioritizing. And it doesn't seem to be like helpful.
Yeah, entertaining content.
Out and you have a $4,000 credit card.
Kind financial advice. If you look at his top viewed TikToks, a couple of guests pop up a lot, so let's focus on them. This is Aaron. Cutting in real quick, Caleb's show does not list guests' preferred pronouns or link their socials.
God.
So when I filmed
Who cares? I'm just kidding. I said the same thing.
this, I just referred
But I did it less cringe.
to Aaron by
This looks like an entirely different person, by the way. That's fucking crazy. The way the camera shoots is very interesting based on what camera you're using.
name or with they as a neutral term. But after filming, I was able to find Aaron's Twitter and confirm that her pronouns are she, her. I just never like to assume,
Oh, then why don't you just be like, hey, I found her pronouns and they're she, her.
especially when I'm featuring someone in a video.
we get
One
it.
of the financial audit's signatures is Caleb listing out a bunch of transactions in this very
What? I prefer cis actions. Just kidding. I love trans people.
incredulous tone.
Amazon, Domino's, Jack in the Box, Amazon, Insomnia Cookies, Chick-fil-A, PayPal.
But I just find
Yeah, I mean, he's not wrong. Chick-fil-A is very expensive. If you're having an issue with budgeting, you shouldn't be going to Chick-fil-A. It's like the most expensive fast food place.
this so like unhelpful. You could read anyone's bank transaction and just be like listing things. I feel like outside of the context of amounts and their actual allocated budget, we're meant to just be shocked that they're like spending money at all. How dare they have any transactions on things that aren't pure essentials?
So here's the thing. The problem is that okay. There's like a lot. The point of the clips is to get you to watch the full video. And so considering it's a financial TikTok, like that is they're on the financial show because they're not doing well money-wise. And then he's looking at your expenses and he's going, what the fuck are you spending all this money on unnecessary expenses? So like, yeah, but that's the thing is those people are there of their own volition. And they're usually looking for advice to spend better. And so he's like, hey, like you're going out to very expensive places consistently. This is the money that you need. Like you would be fine money-wise if you started like eating from home, X, Y, and Z. So like, yeah, obviously with the context there, you understand that like if they are in financially dire issues, or maybe not dire, but they're in negative financial issues. They're on the show for that. They know that's what they're going to get. They can watch the show before they go on to understand the tone of the show. So, like, I don't feel bad for these individuals going on there.
Amazon, Chipotle, Spotify. Don't need to listen to ads, even at the discounted student rate when we are in debt and can afford that.
What, Spotify?
Sure.
Yeah, dude. What do you mean?
It's $10 a month. It's really all right. Should I save the $120 a year? And
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, again, like, you know, you could be like, oh, I can do my Spotify, it's fine, and you're probably right. But again, it's about this concept of just, it's really about just building the pattern of like, I don't need this, because like $5-10 expenses a month is $50 a month, and that is a lot of money when you don't have a lot of money, right? So like, yeah, yes, you can get rid of your Spotify, you can watch ads. You know, if you're in that much of a dire situation, like, yeah, make those cuts consistently across different things, and those little things will add up. The advice will work. You know, you can watch a fucking ad every couple of videos. It's really not that big of a deal.
Okay.
Because if you scrape together 120 a year here, 120 a year here, 120 a year here, it's typically the small things that hurt Americans' finances the most on a month-to-month basis. So
I get the idea
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. He's saying it respectfully. What's the criticism?
that small expenses do add up, but it's definitely not the small things. It's typically the small things that are hurting Americans the most. No, totally disagree. I would say it's the big things like housing, car payments.
So just to be clear, because we can get into this whole thing about how life is expensive, and it is. There's things you can control and there's things you can't control. So realistically speaking, I mean, you can control car payments because you can decide what car to get. But generally speaking, you can't really control your, well, okay, you have a lot of control over things. You can't really control your rent as much. You can't really control healthcare too much, although you can control healthy eating. But you can control how much you're going to pay for Spotify. You can control your day-to-day meals. You can control different ways you decide to go on transportation, maybe, you know, depending on what you have to do. My point is that there are expenses you can control. And so if you're engaging in a consistent behavior of like going out to eat or getting fast food, which is huge. And I remember that because I remember being younger and like being miserable and eating fast food and not caring about my health and not giving a shit. But when you consistently engage in these different patterns of the behavior, like, yeah, it does add up and you have control over that. So like, yeah, if you're going out every night, and I used to go out like multiple times a day and get fast food. If you're going out and you're banging 40 or 50 bucks a day on fast food, when you could get by paying $5 to $10 by preparing your food at home, like those decisions will add up tremendously. So like, yes, there are systemic issues, but you can't write it off as systemic issues because what ends up happening is, again, you go from reason to excuse and you start going like, you know what? Fuck it. I might as well go to Chipotle today. I'm going to go to McDonald's today. I'm going to Taco Bell today. I'm going to do this. And not only are you spending more money on your food because, again, fast food is expensive. It used to be cheap, but it's not. You are now increasing your the likeliness that your health will fall to absolute diarrhea dog shit tremendously quickly, and you're hurting, and like, which is going to be more expensive, and especially as you get older. When you're young, I was healthier at 22 years old weighing 400 pounds than I am at 34 years old weighing 330 pounds because your health, it just goes downhill very quickly, especially after 25. And so you need to learn these different things when you're younger, all these different, you know, financial things, and all the impacts of these different things can have on you. So like, yeah, man, I'm just to be real though, like these things do add up. And it's not, you can't just write everything off as like, oh, systemic problem, I have no control. You have more control than you think. So you should try to engage in as much of that control as you possibly can. Because the people not making excuses, they're the ones that are having a higher chance of being successful. It doesn't mean that if you don't make excuses, you'll be like a mega millionaire, Fortune 500 person. But it could be the difference between being, you know, a little bit more versus a little bit less successful.
Inflated grocery costs, medical bills, student loans. I'm pretty sure those are the things that are making or breaking people's budgets.
But
no. Yes and no.
I want to like enjoy my life, you know? It's really not that bad.
Aren't you delaying more than anything though? The true enjoyment of life? True enjoyment of life is not stressing about extra finances. True enjoyment of life is actually being able to thrive and do the things you want to do.
Honestly, Aaron, I hear you. And I believe that it is important to be able to enjoy your life and have little things that bring you some joy while you're paying off debt. But are you delaying the true enjoyment of life? Are you saying that true enjoyment of life can only come once you've paid off all your debts? Because for a lot of people...
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. No, like, again, like I used to be poor. Like, kind of. Not like super poor, but I used to be in a lot of debt. And I am a lot less stressed now because I don't have debt. So, like, yeah, you can get... I think we all understand what Caleb's saying. He's just, like, he's not making, like, a particularly hot take there. It's, you know...
People, that day would never come, Caleb. I'm sure he's referring to the idea of, like, financial freedom, being debt-free. Yeah, that would sound amazing. But again, is that realistic for most people?
Yes, probably more realistic than people want to admit. Like, again, we're talking about people, when he goes through these people's finances and he finds, like, you know, a couple $100 a month worth of unnecessary expenditures, the answer would be like, yeah, these things can change. He's not just talking to some random person. He's talking to somebody where he has their financial records available, and he could, like, be very explicitly make a decision on what is and is not a good expense. So he's not just speaking vaguely to somebody. He's looking at somebody's documents and going like, oh, if you cut these things out, you could have a much better time in the long run and in the short run. So
a lot of people are struggling so badly. They're trying to get help managing the day-to-day.
And this is the help, though. This is what, no?
Maybe getting out of living paycheck to paycheck, being debt
wouldn't that be this though?
Free someday would be incredible, but how far off is that? How feasible is it?
When we're
okay, but that's just you saying, fuck it, I might as well not care now. You're just kicking the can down the road. That's not a positive relationship with stuff. Like, to me, this comes off as like pandering to people who are struggling financially. in general, like just being like telling people what they want to hear when they're in a bad spot. Like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Just kick it down the road. No, I mean, I used to be there. Like, I get it. It fucking sucks. And I don't really, I don't blame you if you make bad decisions, because I did too. But like, you shouldn't, right? So we can understand that like you're not a horrible person for making, less than stellar choices. But we should also be like, man, you probably shouldn't make that. You probably shouldn't make those bad choices, right? We can understand that.
Delaying and kicking the can down the road. Delaying actually.
Yes, I actually used the exact same thing I said.
Taking control of our finances and being mature.
No. Hang on. So I need you to stop using the word mature.
Why?
This is very upsetting. I'm not immature.
Oh, fuck,
we just view things differently than you.
Well, there's immature financial behavior. That does not mean you as a whole person is
right,
immature.
But I don't disagree with you about taking control of things. I just disagree about like how the Spotify charge fits into that.
No, this interaction pissed me off. Again, I'm always team Aaron. Why? Aaron is totally right in being like, hey, you don't need to call me immature. We're having a conversation. And this is where the environment...
Well, I think that like this is a conversation about sensitivity and ego. And like, I think we understand that like they're financially immature situation. I would understand feeling like a little bit of an ego hit to that. But I mean, that is what's happening, right? So like, that's a conversation about like, okay, like I think it's okay to put your ego aside a little bit, but that's whatever. I don't, they're squabbling at that point.
Environment that Caleb is cultivating comes in. If you look at his YouTube or his TikTok comments, honestly, a lot of
these are like the most benign Caleb clips you probably could have showed. Like so far, none of this really makes him look particularly bad. There's some rough stuff out there where he's being kind of a dick to people. And I've looked at them before, it seems like he's changed his behavior largely. And which he was never that bad, but like, this doesn't seem that bad.
Times they are vile, and that is not a...
Like, I wonder if she's actually watched more than a couple of TikToks, because it's interesting to make a whole video about this when so far you've only shown us a couple of TikTok clips.
Word I use lightly. Many commenters were like, oh, Aaron's being defensive and arrogant.
She is being defensive. It's not necessarily bad or wrong to be defensive. There are moments where it's okay to be defensive. It doesn't make you a bad person to be defensive. In this case, maybe she should put her ego aside a little bit, but like being defensive fundamentally isn't necessarily a bad thing.
That they understand. What? How is it arrogant to say, I understand, you're having a conversation. Yep, I understand. Yep, I understand. Especially because many people do understand financial concepts. In theory, you get it. You get where it's coming from, but it can still be hard to actually implement and stick to. I definitely don't think saying I understand is at all being defensive. And anyway, it makes sense to feel a little defensive or react that way when literally your entire financial picture is being dragged through the mud.
Yeah, but you knew what you were getting into when you did it, so I don't really feel too bad for these people.
So you don't agree with
I would never do something like this, just to be clear. Fuck that.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
The 1,000 cuts are not Spotify. So Spotify is something that I have in my budget.
We could talk about Death by 1,000 cuts if Aaron had like hundreds of dollars of subscriptions every month. But again, right now, we are talking about $10. And yes, it's not really just about Spotify, but Caleb latched onto this intentionally. Aaron is just insisting, hey...
I don't really think that Caleb latched on to this. I think that he brought up to Spotify and then she got sensitive about it. And now like this is an opportunity to have a conversation. That's it. Like she should have been like, okay. And just moved on, but she wanted to fight for it, which by the way, that's fine. Like you fight for your thing, but it's like, I don't really know what to tell you. Like they're having a conversation about it. Aaron's getting to, he's like, hey, you should cut down these things because the pattern of spending on subscriptions and whatnot, it can add up. And then she's like, no, I don't want to do that. And now they're having a discussion about it. And then he decided to use it as a clip. I don't think it's like that super high energy, meaningful, like horrific dickhead situation. I don't think he's being an asshole there.
This one thing means a lot to me. I want to prioritize it. This $10 is so worth it to me. Let's fit it in my budget. Can we make some changes, make some cuts elsewhere? Can we free up?
Well, just to be clear, Caleb is not actually physically stopping this person from engaging in that. So they could just be like, oh, okay, and not do it. Right at this point, it is nothing because Caleb, like, it's not like this show is an agreement that you're going to cancel your Spotify. This is a show about the things that you do and you shouldn't be prioritizing. So this person could just be like, okay, like, you're right, I should probably cancel it and just not do it. Right now, though, they're engaging in like the egotistical conversation. And again, ego is not fundamentally a bad thing. It's okay to have an ego, but I'm just saying that like this conversation is going on because of her and him together. Collectively having it, but she could just be like, oh yeah, okay, and just not listen. That's what I do with my wife all the time. Oh, can you do this? Yeah, I got it. Don't do it. What the fuck's she gonna do about it? Huh? She can't overpower me, bitch. No, I'm just kidding. I listen to my wife. I'm afraid of her a little bit. I love her to death.
Up the $10. But before we continue, this portion of today's video is sponsored by Warby Parker. Warby Parker is your one-stop shop for prescription eyewear, contacts.
Yeah, you should probably use that, bro. I spent fucking $450 on these goddamn glasses. My cousin and my brother-in-law, they're all like, oh, hey guys, I got my glasses online for like $120 bucks. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ, I could have saved a lot of money. And that was uninsured. And mine was insured. It was supposed to be $1,000. I got really good shit, though. But I can't imagine it was worth it.
And eye exams. You can visit one of their over 250 locations in the US and Canada, or shop online. I definitely recommend using the virtual try-on to find your favorites. It's available on the
That's kind of a cool idea. I have such a fat fucking head.
Website or the app, and it is very realistic and super helpful. So I recently got new sunglasses. These are the Vela Extra Wide in Aventurine Tortoise with polished gold. These are funky and oversized with the dainty gold temples and the color combination of tortoise, green, and gold. I mean, hello. These are sturdy but still very comfortable on my nose and my ears, which is very important. Plus, all of their sunglasses have scratch resistant and UV blocking lenses. So if you need new glasses soon, check out Warby Parker. Their glasses start at just $95 with free shipping and 30-day returns. Click the link in my description, test out the virtual try-on, and you can get 15% off when you order 2 or more prescription pairs online or in stores.
What'd you come here for?
What do you mean?
Like, I mean, do you want my take? Like, you're just disagreeing with it. Like, even something as simple as Spotify.
Honestly, who's being arrogant and defensive now? Your guests aren't allowed to even question your take. They're not allowed to have a different opinion.
There's the people out there that's like, don't ever go get Starbucks. You're ruining your entire future. That's not me. I'm not that. But I'm like, we do that stuff when we're out of debt and we have a fully funded emergency fund. I'm not saying this Spotify thing is what's killing you. It's just an example of one of the many things that have been added up that we went over.
The reality is that
yeah, it sounds like he's communicating very clearly that there is a pattern of bad behavior from this individual, and that it would be good to not engage in the bad behavior. And Spotify is like, it's the principle of it. And again, she could just be like, okay, and ignore that one specifically and listen to everything else. But again, they're both just kind of engaging in the conversation.
there are so many different methods and strategies to pay off debt or to budget, but these financial creators tend to act like their way is the only way. It's their method. They also tend to act like
Okay. I mean, then don't go to them. I don't know what to tell you.
budgeting and personal finance is purely just about numbers, but it's actually very emotional, and we are not robots just sticking to a spreadsheet. And that's why these extremely strict budgets tend to fail, because if you don't take into account people's human behaviors when they're expressing to you
But the thing is that they're already failing, though, right? So it's not like they're already failing. I think that's the thing that we need to keep in mind. It's not like these people, like, I understand fundamentally what this person is saying, right? You can relate this to, we'll say, dieting, for instance. You can relate this to like a diet, for instance. If you over restrict your diet, you have a higher chance of failing. Absolutely, 100%. I totally understand that. But again, you know, what's the alternative? Well, I mean, what is the alternative? Just have the Spotify? Okay, I don't really know what to tell you. You know, we can make it as many excuses as you want, but like, yeah, he's just giving advice on what to do. I don't know. Like, what is the solution? This person is clearly failing. They're on the show for a reason, because they're failing at their budget, and so they're asking for advice. And the advice is like, hey, cut out some of these small, stupid expenses.
what their needs or their preferences are. Of course, you've got to
I feel like we're leaning too much into like a victim complex. It's not like we're going past acknowledging, we're going into like victimhood. Like, we're really just wanting to be a failure at this point.
make some changes. You have to be able to do that, but you have to have some wiggle room. You have to acknowledge that
Sure.
people are people, and also to be picky.
Gotcha.
You are actually being that coffee is ruining your budget type of person. Like, you're doing that right now. You're saying a $10 expense needs to be cut. If anything, that's way less.
What he's saying is that he's saying it's okay to go to Starbucks and do all these things as long as you have the money to do it. But once you don't, you shouldn't be going there. That's what he's saying. And since this person is in debt, they should be cutting out like the constant trips out to that. So I would say get a better, more productive, healthier, or try to coping mechanism. If your cope is to go out to fast food and treat yourself, I get it. Again, I'm obese. But like, maybe try to develop a better one. Again, easier said than done. I can understand why you might fail at it, but again, like, let's at least acknowledge that it is bad behavior. Like, you should at least acknowledge that the behavior you're engaging in is bad. Don't justify it. If you're going to be engaged in the bad behavior of overspending on treating yourself, at least be like, yeah, this is not the right thing to do. Don't find ways to justify it, because then that's not going to push you towards an area of actually correcting the bad behavior.
Less than getting coffee even like once a week.
No, you haven't explained by why Spotify itself is some special entity.
I use it all the time. I listen to hours and hours and hours of Spotify.
Cool. You can't listen to an ad?
Good question.
It's worth it to me. I'm sorry. I don't know what you want
It is a good question. You can't listen to an ad.
me to say. It's worth it to me.
He frames this as such a gotcha, and the audience, again, is very annoying.
I mean, it kind of is. You can't listen to an ad. I mean, I know it's more than just an ad. I think that Spotify doesn't like let you choose what you want to watch. But yeah, you can listen to an ad.
Oh, Aaron was silent. Did you hear that? But I think they were speechless because it's such a dumb, nitpicky question.
I don't really think it's a nitpicky question. actually pretty basic. Like, you can't listen to an ad. I don't understand.
I would be baffled as well. People
Why?
are allowed to have priorities and preferences in their budget.
But like, okay, so if you brought up what I said, like, oh well, it's more than just an ad. You can't choose your music. You would have had a little more of a leg to stand on. But like, you're telling me the 15-second ad or however long it is too much. Like, that actually sounds reasonable. Yeah, just listen to the fucking ad. No, who gives a fuck? But I think that Spotify lets you pick your album, but maybe like not your specific song. I don't remember, or your artist. I don't know.
And you know what? I've had Spotify since like 2013, and I have had premium every minute because it's worth it for me. There are some services where, yeah, I'd be willing to do the ad version. That's true. But like, some of them I don't want to deal with the ads. Is that okay? This just goes
I guess not if you're in a bad financial hole, but okay.
back to, again, that whole idea that if you're broke or you're in debt, you don't deserve anything nice. You get
That's not what it's really being said. It's not about what you may or may not deserve. It's about what is or isn't practical for you. But okay.
no little treats, no joys. You can suffer for potentially years while you're trying to pay off.
Again, Kayla was very explicit about how it's not just a Spotify. It's a pattern and a series of bad decisions. So this is just one of many bad decisions. But like, okay, if you want to frame it that way, you'd be my guest.
Your debt. I did listen to Aaron's entire episode on YouTube, and at the end, Caleb suggests with his new budget plan that Aaron can pay $1,000 a month towards student loans every month until they graduate in 2026, which could be about $30,000 in that time frame. So the student loans would go from $69,000 to $39,000. That's huge.
No, they wouldn't, because like you'd have to pay off your interest and whatnot. But that's still good. Yeah.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on all this?
Maintaining my spending in a spot where I can put that 1,000, or even just like if I wasn't perfect, like 900, 850, like makes a huge difference. Building in some like room for like not being perfect is like good for just my mental health. It's like,
okay, well, it sounds like Caleb gave them advice, and now they're gonna change it. It's like, hey, here, Caleb gave them $1,000 a month advice. This person's saying I'm gonna do like $900 advice, and it's like, okay, cool. You came to a compromise, and I think that that's a good way to engage. Like a lot of times, this is the way that you should interact with life. There'll be people who give you advice on stuff. You should listen to the advice, but it's not always applicable to you because you know your situation better. But you can always, or you in many instances, you could take some of what they say and you could apply it to your life. So it sounds like a reasonable compromise. Sounds good.
I can make a lot of progress.
And I agree with you in a certain way. I'll just try to reframe it. If we build room in our budget to mess up, we enable ourselves preemptively to mess up.
So I wasn't.
I mean, that's a fair point.
What I meant more so like not kicking myself if I don't meet the 1,000 every month. But like that would be the goal.
I get you. Yeah.
This reminds me of all the
Yeah, I mean, this like I haven't. Maybe I'm being stupid, but Caleb isn't being disrespectful to this person at all. He's not embarrassing them. He's talking to them and he's disagreeing with them over something. I'm not understanding what the problem is. Like, how is, like, we've seen much worse people doing this type of content. No, like, I don't really understand the issue.
the fantasy budgets I've created, like all the budgets I've made with the best case scenario in mind. Oh, the maximum amount of income I might earn and my lowest possible expenses and me never stepping outside my budget ever. Those budgets are the worst because they are not accurate and they always fail. If any
Okay, that's cool. I think the idea that he's trying to engage in is the more that you accept bad behavior from yourself, the more likely you are to lean into bad behavior. So you shouldn't necessarily create room for the bad behavior. You shouldn't budget it explicitly into it, is what he's saying.
anything it sets us up to fail because we're not giving ourselves a little bit of wiggle room or like just space for reality. What extra expenses or emergencies or increased costs might come in the future? Wouldn't you want to have some room for that?
Right, but you would have the room for that emergency cost because emergency cost is unpredictable, right? You'd have the room for that emergency cost if you stuck very explicitly to the budget, because then it's like, oh fuck, a $400 expense came up. Well, I'm saving $1,000 a month. I guess I just can't put quite as much to my student loans that I wanted to this time. So
I think it is good to set solid goals. Be a bit aggressive in your debt payoff if you can, but also make it reasonable and understand that hitting 50% or 75% of your monthly goal is a lot better than nothing.
Sure, but that's a lot lower than it probably needs to be, but okay.
So the reason I've been so harsh to Caleb so far, you might be thinking, oh, maybe I'm being too mean. No.
Not really. So far, yeah. Like so far, it just seems like you're nitpicking. And a little virtue signaling, a little like leaning too much into like a victim complex, but okay.
No, I've watched at least 2 full episodes of his podcast, which was more than enough. I've seen a lot of these clips, and the way that he treats his guests, the way that he portrays them in video thumbnails.
Yeah, it can sometimes be wrong. Absolutely. I mean, I agree with that. I think he's kind of changed that a little bit. Some of it's sensational. I tend to care not so much personally because again, they know what they're getting into. You know, like, you know what you're getting. Some of these people are dog shit assholes. Like, there was one woman who, like, I don't know, really fucked with her kid. It was pretty bad. But, like, if you're somebody who's thinking about going on Caleb financial audit and you kind of just look through here, you'd be like, oh, I could see what the tone of the video is going to be. You know what you're subjecting yourself to, is the point that I'm making. I don't really feel bad for these people, because like you could just look through it and see. So
look at how disgusting these are. These are horrible. The titles of these videos. It is beyond clickbait. It is so dehumanizing.
Willing to go bankrupt. What are the titles? Let me see. Disgusting degenerate steals from mom. I mean, if they stole $200,000 from mom, then she is a bitch. Rejected baby mama can't survive without a man. The dumbest couple I've ever met. She'd rather eat than grow up. That's fucking mean. Poverty from TikTok brain rot. Willing to go bankrupt for transition. Interesting. Those are some nice. Hey, I would be willing to go bankrupt for those titties too. Yeah. I mean, again, some of them can be this. It's hard to care because the people see that. They see that Caleb does this and they go on the show. So I have a hard time giving a shit, you know?
It is misogynistic. These are so offensive. And so he's not approaching his guests with empathy and care and respect. He is literally.
That's not necessarily true. So just to be clear, like we know how the YouTube game works. I don't really do it, but like it's clickbait. So like if he's, from what I've seen, sometimes he can be a dick, but for the most part, it's like pretty respectful. But then there's like clickbait thumbnails and titles, right? Like that's supposed to draw you into seeing the video. So it doesn't necessarily mean he's being disrespectful. We saw nothing disrespectful when he was talking to that girl before. So like, again, you really could write this off. I was like, hey, this is kind of like clickbaity, par for the course, YouTube type stuff.
Seeking to humiliate them under the guise of helping them. It is so horrible.
And maybe, just maybe,
can I say something positive?
Maybe someone will actually get help out there from watching. They're like, oh, maybe I'm a defensive stupid. I'm not going to be like her.
Why are you yelling?
You've seen the show.
I haven't seen the full thing, so
I yell. That's how this works. You signed the up to be on it.
Okay.
And that is fair. He's kind of right, no?
Okay. Well, I'm going to yell back.
So yes, that's
all right. Go ahead. I imagine he would want that, no?
why I'm being harsh on him, because I just think this content strategy is gross. It's similar to like Dr. Phil or again Dave Ramsey, that like faux fatherly tough love kind of style. And it's like, first of all, Caleb, you're too young for that. Like, you're giving boomer energy and pretending you're different. You're not. Why is your content so mean and so exploitative? Well, stupid question. Obviously because it gets views. Again, this is rage.
It's hard. Like, exploiting who? People who know what they're getting into. I don't know. I mean, unless you're going to get into a conversation that they feel pressured because there might be a financial, I think there is probably a financial incentive to go on the show. So they're like, all right, I'll let Caleb abuse me or something, I guess. At the end of the day, you signed up for the show, you decided to go on there, you are getting help on the advice. There are moments where things do flare up and get a little provocative, but it does seem like he actually does give advice. He goes through people's statements and figures out ways to cut and figures out different things that they can do. It's not like he doesn't help them at all.
It works. His comment sections are full of vitriolic comments toward these poor guests who, again, have been so vulnerable.
True, very poor.
And brave in coming forward and sharing all these details about their financial life and other things.
Okay, I'm a single.
This one I feel bad for. I watched that video. I think that this video was a turning point for him. I remember watching that, the whole thing on it. He could have been more empathetic to her, but I feel like after that he's been more empathetic and he's been a little bit better when it comes to his approach, because that, like, you know, that got a little crazy. Although he wasn't like fully mean to her, he did acknowledge that she had like a tough life in different aspects. But yeah, because I watched that full one. Yeah. I mean, I think that he made like a reasonable shift to being a little less, you know, a little more empathetic to the people based on their circumstances after that.
Female, and I am going on a show that promised to help to talk about my finances, and I'm being sexually harassed in the video.
Oh yeah, she wasn't really being sexually harassed. He made like a silly joke. It wasn't even that bad. It wasn't bad at all. He was just being like stupid. It wasn't sexual harassment. She was obviously upset, and rightfully so, from after that, but he wasn't sexually harassing her in any meaningful way.
First of all, so often the comment sections aren't even focused on the finances. They'll pick one aspect of the person's life or personality and just tear into that. Aaron, trans. There are the worst videos.
Terrible.
Caleb made little clips and stuff about Aaron talking about gender affirming surgery, and Caleb is like kind of questioning, should you really have used your emergency fund for that? Is that really an emergency? Oh, you bought medical supplies for healing from your surgery on Amazon? Were those really necessary? Oh, they were just for comfort while you're healing from...
Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched that episode. I'd have to watch it to see if it was reasonable. Like, Caleb might just be a little ignorant when it comes to trans shit. So, like, okay. Like, yeah, that's not good. But I'd have to see the specifics.
Surgery? Shut up. And guess what? His audience was blatantly, horrifically, atrociously transphobic in all of the comments. And he does nothing to stop that. He does nothing to minimize it. He encourages it, and it makes me so furious.
Why do you think he encourages it? That's my question. Like, he probably, if there is a lot, and I haven't seen it, but like, if there is a lot of transphobia in the comments, like, yeah, for sure, he should address that, I think, in some kind of capacity. But like, how does he encourage it? I guess is my question.
I'm literally getting hot. Jesus Christ.
Nice.
So now I want to dive a bit deeper into some potential routes of debt payoff. I think there are three main options. Pay your debt off ASAP, more long-term manageable payments, or declare bankruptcy. So let's start with that.
You can't declare bankruptcy on like everything. Like, you can't bankrupt student loan debt, I'm pretty sure. So pretty sure that's true. Can you... Yeah, let's see. Yes, you can file bankruptcy discharge. Okay, federal loans, but you must prove the payment would cause unique hardship. Okay, because I'm pretty sure it's difficult to do. I could have swore like you can't really do that for your loans. I guess it can be. Wow. Okay, I guess you can do that, but apparently you have to go through extra steps to prove that it could be like an issue. I wonder about private loans. Okay.
If your debt is putting a major strain on your life, you cannot keep up with the payments, or the total is just insurmountable, bankruptcy could be the right option for you. It's obviously not something to take lightly because it does come with penalties and certain consequences. It can stay on your credit report for up to 10 years. But
yeah, I mean, it could fuck you in the ass pretty hard.
Still, for many people, this kind of fresh start is literally life-saving.
Sure, just to be clear, all these people that he's talking to, he has direct access to their finances, so like they're not seemingly at that point, and he's trying to help them stay away from bankruptcy. But
however, it is so deeply stigmatized. Many people, even in super severe debt, would not even consider filing bankruptcy.
Okay, I just want to be very clear, because like now we're talking about different advices. Like, what could you do? He's giving people reasonable advice. He's being a dick sometimes, fair enough, but he's giving people reasonable advice. Like, it is still decent advice. What the fuck?
Because of the weight and shame attached.
Fortunately, there are lawyers like me out here to explain to people that it's not their own personal fault that they've gotten into debt. You know,
it could be. It's not necessarily true, but
when people end up filing bankruptcy because they had leukemia, how dare they, right?
Well, yeah, if you had fucking leukemia, it's a little different than people who maybe are spending way too much money on fast food.
They better be living in a van. How about the women whose husbands left them holding the bag with children and no child support?
Sure, absolutely. Again, those people on the show usually aren't those people. So.
You're allowed to want to live in a van. You're allowed to think that bankruptcy is not right for you. But to assume that it's bad for everybody who does it suggests that you have no idea how the economy works. And
this is not really applicable to Caleb's guests, but okay.
There are a lot of people who need some help who cannot be living in vans.
As Astra Taylor wrote, conversations about debt are never purely about economics. They are always also conversations about power, morality, and shame. Shame, like wealth, is not evenly distributed in our society. For working class people, insolvency is often seen as a sign of profligacy and personal irresponsibility, while
it is. In a lot of instances, you do have control over some of your stuff.
large corporations and the wealthy routinely walk away from their obligations and are celebrated as savvy for doing so. Donald Trump can boastfully call himself the king of debt for his string of strategic bankruptcies. The average debtor would never dare. And I think those are such crucial points, especially about like the double standards we have about debt and the way that we see it. The fact that the wealthy are often able to benefit from quote unquote good debt, while the rest of us just struggle. So again, some people see bankruptcy or any other form of debt relief or debt forgiveness as this unfair, easy way out. Because it's as if we all just collectively believe that—
I think that most people have the relationship with the bankruptcy is like, hey, you shouldn't do it unless you really have to. I don't think it's like a super hot take. But okay.
Debt payoff should involve suffering. You must repent for your financial sins. This kind of philosophy is present in so much personal finance content. Jania Belafonte wrote in this 2005 profile of Dave Ramsey, implicit in Ramsey's teachings is the notion that debt is a moral weakness, a failure to embrace Protestant values of industry and restraint. To a degree, Ramsey is resurrecting an idea that until the 1950s remained central to American life. Owing money was sinful. Therefore, you should be embarrassed. You deserve to be publicly shamed for your debts. You must face the consequences of your financial mistakes and feel the pain of an ultra-tight budget. Enter the next option. Pay off your debt as soon as possible. Many finance creators, as I—
like, yes, you should probably pay off your debt as like soon as possible. I don't think that's like a super crazy one. Like, yeah, try to pay off your debt. Yeah, like, okay.
I've alluded to throughout this video will tell you that this is the way. Duh. It is simple math. You want to pay the least amount of interest, and you're going to save money overall. Suffer a little bit now or a lot, and at least you'll pay your debt off sooner. And ideally, this method involves both earning more money, so you're going to get a second job or some side hustles, and you're going to cut your expenses to the bare minimum. As Ramsey says, you're going to be living on rice and beans and rice.
Becky's on Twitter. Do you literally mean beans and rice, or is that an exaggeration to make a point? Becky, you've got to be kidding me. Of course not. It means lower your stupid butt lifestyle.
Honestly, this whole time, I really thought he meant it literally too.
It means quit going out to eat. You're broke. Get your dadgum coupons out and have a meal plan and actually cook from scratch because it saves money. And don't go on vacation. You're broke. And
I mean, he's not wrong, even if he's being a dick about it.
don't buy that. You're broke. Live on less than you make. That's what it means.
In order
Yeah, I mean, if you can do that, you should.
to pay off your debt as soon as possible, maybe you can move
Even $5 from Apocalypse. Sorry to interrupt, but the new event is crazy. Leveling with Chromie time off. Bellaward Warcraft made a video about it, 10 to 70 in 4 hours. Check it out. Oh, well, I don't really need to do that. I'm not fucking cringe.
back in with family or just get more roommates. And okay, this strategy does
I did 11 hours and it's a level 60. I'm comfortable with that, you know?
work for some people. We've seen
I got till the 26 to get to like level 70. I'm already level 60, so I'm not really trying to bang up as much as possible.
countless stories of people saying, yeah, I moved back home with my parents. It was not the most fun, but I was able to pay a ton of debt, save a lot of money. And if you're privileged and lucky enough to be able to do that, and it works for you, that's great. I think this kind of strategy is most feasible for people who could pay their debts off within a year or so. Like, yeah, I can be hardcore for a year. I'll cut down, I'll be very strict, let's get it done. And that's great, because you can make a ton of progress in this kind of circumstance. But for others, these kind of tips just don't work. Their circumstances are different. They can't just move someone.
No, a lot of times, like, yeah, sometimes, but a lot of times is people are just unwilling to compromise. Some people, like, the reality is like some people just don't care, and they should. I was in that situation. Like, that's the thing, is in a lot of instances, yes, all these systemic factors will exist, but at the end of the day, you still have like a decent level of control, and sometimes people just don't care, and that makes sense because they have shit going on in their lives that makes them not care. But again, like, it's not as simple as like, well, there's so many people that just can't do it. Most people could do it. Most people could do it. They just don't have the willpower to do it. And it's hard. It's hard to have the willpower to do it. I'm not saying that. But I think, again, there's a difference between saying, like, I understand it's really difficult, so I get if you fail at it, versus being like, well, you just can't do it. You probably can. If you're in a financial situation, you probably can better your situation. You just don't want to because it's hard, and I totally get it. That's why I'm fucking fat, because it's hard. You know what I mean? I get it being hard. But, you know, I don't think that we should lean too much into the victim complex.
Somewhere cheaper, or get extra jobs. Maybe they have kids and all the costs and obligations that come along with that. Or maybe the amount of debt you have is so much that, yeah, it's not going to be a year. It's not going to be temporary short-term suffering. If it's going to take you multiple years of hardcore, strict, no nonsense, no fun, no Spotify budgeting, that is simply not sustainable for most people.
What the fuck
I think
is
just like
happening?
mentally, psychologically, it would be too much and too long to put yourself under so much pressure and stress. So lastly, we come to the slow but steady payoff. I want to use this example of a TikTok creator named Leftist Mommy. Her name is Kate. I heard her story. Her TikToks came up on my feed months ago, and I saved them.
Like, I feel like the rest of this video is just irrelevant. It's just kind of like it's not productive to me. It just sounds like we criticized Caleb Hammer, and now what we're going to talk about is like different things that you could do. Cool beans. Yeah, you should engage in better relationship with your debt. I agree with that. Make a budget that has some money over and pay it off at a reasonable amount of time, leaving yourself the ability to live. Cool stuff. I think that that's fine. I don't think that we need to watch the rest of this, to be absolutely honest with you. So, yeah, man, not a bad video in general. I liked it. Again, I just feel like it leans a little too much into, like, sorry, excuse me. Like I said like 100 times, I don't necessarily disagree with what the video is saying. It just leans into too much of like a victim complex sometimes, in my opinion. So.